Change is inevitable, but chaos is a leadership choice. Welcome to the Voice of Impact, where belief meets action. Our podcast amplifies stories, systems, and solutions behind meaningful change. I'm your host, Robert Ndoping. Today's conversation invites us into the heart of leadership during uncertainty. Where pressure is high, decisions matter, and clarity becomes the most valuable currency. Because in the world that is constantly shifting, the question is no longer whether change would happen, but how we will lead through it. My guest today is Noel Andrews-Sotta, a fractional COO, executive coach, a global transformation leader with more than 30 years of experience guiding organizations through complex change. She's also an international best-selling contributing author of Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 19. Throughout her career, Noel has led high-stake transformations across industries, including SaaS, financial services, customer experience, and professional services, delivering over 500 million in bottom line improvements while accelerating growth and strengthening organizational performance. But what sets Noel apart is not just her results, it's her philosophy. At the core of her work is the Beyond Resilience framework, a powerful approach that helps leaders move beyond simply surviving disruption and instead use it as a catalyst for clarity, alignment, and sustainable growth. She believes that while change is inevitable, chaos doesn't have to be, and that with the right leadership, systems, and mindsets, disruption can unlock new levels of performance and possibility. By becoming the executive coaching for real operator level experience, Noel partners with leaders not just to navigate change, but to multiply their capacity to lead through it. Noel, welcome to the Voice of Impact.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here and very, very humbling introduction. So I appreciate that very much.
We also appreciate you coming. But, our listeners always like to know. I mean, there's somebody wanting to know 30 years of experience leading organizations through change. You built a framework, results. What's your journey? What led you to what you're doing right now?
Well, I believe wholeheartedly that every path and every step is right here, right place, right now for right now. And I've lived my life that way. I started out going into General Electric in their financial management program, which gave me a phenomenal foundation of finance. So I understand how the numbers work. I understand how the business operates, how what you do in the business shows up in the income statement and the balance sheet, which gave me just a phenomenal foundation in everything that I've got working. But the true magic was the leadership development and exposure that General Electric provided me. And GE is not the same GE as it was 20 years ago, but GE for many years, for close to 100 years, invested in leaders. And I saw my peers who are graduating going to organizations and learning through exposure by fire, right? You get into it and you learn and you grow, which is a phenomenal way. But GE not only did that, but they also gave us tools and training and support around it. And that gave me a foundation for everything that I do. And early in my career, they put me in what was called, they had workout, which was precursor to Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement. And me, a recent graduate of college, is in front of the C-suite of the business I'm working with, helping them define and identify what change they needed to go after and what was the right area of focus that was going to transform the results of the business. I facilitated that. And I learned how to be in a room without leadership accountability, but how to influence and mold and bring out the genius within the people in the room. And it's those light bulb moments that started in that group that I have continued throughout my experience of driving transformations that The answer's already there. The direction you need to go is already there. It's just the lens at which you're looking at it. And you need to help people see it from a new point of view for it to unlock the possibilities. And time again, the result is that not only do you get to your end state faster, but you get by the time you thought you'd get it and a certain income, you actually are able to double the income. You magnify those results when you just start looking at your current state from a new point of view. And you turn that what seems like chaos and confusion into clarity and momentum.
Wow. So, what did that early leadership challenges teach you about people and systems?
A great question. It taught me that believe wholeheartedly that everybody is doing what they believe is the right thing for the right reasons, that I do believe everyone's intentions are pure. I, however, we get so mired down into the politics of what's around us, into the story that you and your colleagues are all saying about whatever current state is, that you're just not able, you have blinders on. You're not able to see past what you believe to be true. And with some support, coaching, tools, facilitation, when you can begin to break that free, not only for an individual, but especially with a team, light bulbs start going off. And all of a sudden, paths become clear. All of a sudden, if you will, the clouds disappear and the sun starts to come down and it shines a light on the path that you need to go forward. So it taught me that the answer is within the people. It's not some big answer that someone's going to bring. A consultant's going to have the magic answer as to what to do. I've not seen a consultant come in with a magic recipe, but those good ones come in and they pull it out of the organization. They pull out what is already true from within and help the people see it themselves. Structure is a way that you can start breaking some of that free, but the structure is not the answer. The answer is from within the people.
Yeah, the answer is from within the people. That I love that last line that you gave there. I mean, within all of this, when did you realize that change could be an opportunity and not just a disruption?
Mm. When did I realize that? Probably I keep realizing it over and over. And I find that the hardest realization is when it's my own personal change, because I resist it just like everybody resists it, right? But when I have found time and time again, when I look back and I see the story of where I'm at versus this path that you got there, that phrase of right here is right for right now has I wouldn't be where I'm at had I not taken those different changes going forward. I mean, for me personally, the biggest example is I've moved for my corporate job time and time again. And after COVID, when COVID unlocked the possibility of remote, unlocked the possibility of conversations like this, um, it opened up a new world. And I actually did a move for my family. We moved my family to a location that was right for us. It wasn't the decision of the job. That was a very scary disruption to my family, picking up and moving, going to a new house in a new community. But it was the right move for us long term for my kids to be in the right school. It has transformed their world. It has transformed my world. I could never have seen the possibilities that were opened up just by looking at it different. So I don't know that I answered your question there, but
You did actually. You did. I mean, I want to delve a little bit into something that you often say. Change is inevitable, but
yeah.
chaos is optional. That's a powerful reframe. I mean, what does that really mean, for leaders in practice?
Well, I mean, especially as you're looking at today's world with AI, right? We've always talked about change and about planning for change, and there's practitioners out there. I've been one of them that is about how to lead your team through change. And it's always focused on we're going to have a new CEO come in. We're going to have a new tool or system outlined. Let's go manage the change and let's go manage the strategy. Change is no longer one event. Change is almost a way of being today. Things are moving so fast and evolving so quickly that if it is not your way of being, well, it is your way of being, whether or not you accept it or not. How you relate to it, though, is going to determine how well you thrive and survive through it. And too often we relate to it in chaos, in fear. And if you can recognize that that is a choice and that is something that you have control over, and it is something you can control for yourself, and it is something that you can lead your team through to make that chaos not part of it, you will be able to manage, you'll be able to get to the other side and get to the next, ready for the next set of changes quicker and smoother. I guess an example that I've been talking about with some people is you think of GPS, right? You get into your car, you put in your destination, and it has a little map. My children to this day do not know what street is what in my city, and it bugs me to all end. They need to know what street we live on and how it relates to others. But they get in, they plug in the GPS to what their destination is, and they blindly follow it. That GPS, they do not have an autonomous car. So that GPS has no real authority in that car. It is not able to actually turn the wheel as to where they're going to go. But what it does have is it has clarity on the destination, and the driver, my children, follow it blindly as to this is the place to go. This is the place to go. Turn here, turn there. If there is an unexpected accident or a road is unexpectedly closed, what does GPS do? It recalculates. It doesn't go, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? This is going to change how I get up and go to work tomorrow. I've got to go plan extra time. I got to go do this, that, and the other. It doesn't react. It doesn't lead. It just recalculates. It keeps the destination clear and it recalculates where you go. That's kind of how we have to live our life now, both as individuals and as leaders. You need to be clear on the destination of where you want to go and just recalculate, because there are going to be constant things thrown in your way of a traffic jam, of a road closure, of cops in one direction and maybe not another. Whatever it may be, there's going to be constant things thrown into our path. And so we now need to learn to lead not by following a defined path, but by recalculating as change is our new way of being.
I love that recalculation, and I use GPS, but I love to drive without GPS. I enjoy the old school, unless I don't know a destination at all.
Me too. I take personal pride. Look, I found it. Was it the fastest way? Maybe not.
Yeah. So, for somebody listening, I mean, in your opinion, what's the difference between change and chaos? Because we've used them interchangeably here.
I change is more of a way of being. It is a reality. It is there's some that's in your control, and there's a lot that's not in your control. It is more of something you will experience, where chaos is how you relate to it, and it is more of your internal choice and something you have complete control over. And that chaos can both be in how you personally relate, and it can also be in how you lead others and the energy and the momentum or lack of momentum that you create around you. Um, Example is like a new CEO coming in with my team. I did not know what the CEO's methodology was around program management. I was leading the program management. I was leading continuous improvement, and some CEOs are all bought into it because that's their methodology, that's in their DNA. Other ones don't see that as a key function to invest in businesses. It's just the way that leadership happens to be at different perspectives. I didn't know what the new perspective was of the new CEO. So immediately, do I even have a job? Will my team have a job? I've got 50 people, over 50 people that I'm leading through this. And I could either state all of those and be concerned, be chaotic, be scared, and create a whole bunch of turmoil with my team. Or I can choose how I'm going to relate to this and go through exercises with them so we can together go through this type of transformation and be okay at the end. I used one of my tools called the Change Compass. And it's for simple questions. But you ask, what do you know about the change? What is changing? Is changing? What is not changing? What do you know? And what do you not know? And that first question of what is changing, chaos starts and you fill in everything, including the kitchen sink, into that. What is changing? What is changing? I'm going to have to put my resume together. A new CEO is not going to like us. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a month. I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I'm going to have to change the way I drive to work. I'm going to have to work somewhere else. I'm going to have to pick up and move my family. You put a whole bunch of stuff in there. That's the chaos. And that's the natural way for your human brain to work. But when you start also asking the next question of what is not changing, well, I've still got the paycheck. I've still got these deliverables to do. I've still got these client commitments. I still have the support in this group. I still have value add that I bring to the organization. I still have all that's not changing. What do I not know? Then some things start falling down. I don't know the new methodology of the new CEO. I don't know yet. What do know? Well, I do know that he had a program management office in his last company. That's something. I know that. But you can start taking things out of what you think is changing and move it into what you know and what you don't know. And you just are left with the only thing that is changing right now is a new CEO has come in. And it gives a place for all the other fearful chaos things that I was putting into that bucket. It gives another place for them to fall. And as a leader of a team, it actually gives you gold as to what answers you need to go get to help your team stay out of chaos, because it gives you an action plan to start to follow. So chaos is when you leave everything into that and you let your human brain just take over and you're not able to see the situation for what it really is at this moment.
Yeah, I really love that explanation. I want to move it a little bit to organizations. What are
Yeah.
common reasons that could create chaos within organizations, and how could leaders either interrupt it or create clarity?
Well, what creates the chaos is fear and lack of understanding of what's happening and fear for what is going to be happening in the future. And so uh, what creates the clarity, what removes that chaos is when you help the team have clarity on what is really going on. Just like that example of the new CEO of getting clear on what really is changing. Now, notice I didn't go and promise everybody they've got a job because I can't do that. I didn't go make false promises. But what you did do is you did clarify and get everybody grounded on the current state of what's really happening around the change. Um, AI coming in. There's a lot of that talk going on in businesses, and it's a disruption. What's going to happen with our jobs? I don't know. And no one can answer, I think, especially when you look in the long run. But if you can talk about what's happening in your organization with AI and be clear and transparent about where you are investing, where you're researching it, and identify what you know and what you don't know, people can start identifying additional opportunities for using AI. People can start identifying how these new ways of implementing AI can actually augment and transform their role into something even better. Is if you a lot of AI will be taking over some of the routine tasks that people have been doing. And if you take that off on your plate and you start identifying what value add could we do as an organization, you actually are seeing roles created out of it, different kinds of roles. So you've got to move them into that.
Yeah. So with all of this, in your opinion, what are some common leadership mistakes during change?
I think the biggest one I've seen, and I've been a culprit of it, is when there's the change that's outside of your control, like a new CEO or a new strategy or new team members coming in, if you will, or team members exiting. When you as a leader, let me take a step back. There's a thing called a change curve. And I think a lot of people have heard about it, but not a lot of people have necessarily studied it. And it's kind of like the grieving journey, if you will. But you go through initially a shock about, is this really happening when some big change is coming? Then there's a denial, like this is never going to work. If I just hold my breath long enough, it'll be the next flavor of the day for the business and I won't need to pay attention. And then you evolve down into resistance, and you then finally get up into exploration about, maybe pop pieces of this could work, and then finally up to commitment. And commitment is where everyone's bought in and you start learning and identifying ways to actually make the change work and actually take it to the next level. As organizations, we constantly expect our leaders to lead our teams through change from a place of commitment. You expect the leader to be fully committed and fully on board, and that's the only face they ever show to the organization, which I understand. It's logical, but it's not reality. And so I think the biggest mistake that leaders make is trying to lead from commitment when they themselves may still be in shock and denial. And that dichotomy, your teams see, they feel. It comes out in how you talk to people, it comes out in how you lead, it comes out in the messages you choose to share. So you need to learn how to be a leader, to lead people through change, meet them where they're at while respecting where you're at and lead from that place. There's strength in the shock and denial side because it gives you more clarity into the elements of the current state that actually works really well to help you be able to identify pieces that you want to augment when you get to the new state. There's good things that come out of that. But you've got to recognize that's where you're at, ground yourself on that, and then learn how to lead as a leader to where your teams are and help move them forward. To move teams forward, you meet them where they're at because that gives them a solid footing to be standing on. And then you start helping them create what I call the next chapter. When they start taking ownership of the title of the next chapter of their story through this change, they can start moving themselves through the change curve and get into that exploration and ultimately commitment phase. But you only do that when they've got solid footing. You can't expect somebody to lead or to move from somewhere other than where they are on the curve. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges and issues that leaders have and when leading others through change.
I love that piece of meeting people where they are at in that journey. I mean, it really just translates to a couple of things um, just from your explanation of all of this. I mean, I want to come into something that's closer to you, your Beyond Resilience framework. I mean, it challenges that idea that resilience alone is not enough. What does it mean to go beyond resilience in the perspective of your framework?
Yeah, the tagline that I go with that one is going to be, you don't want to just bounce back. You need to bounce forward, right? Because back is just not enough. Back gets you to where you were. I talked about that change curve where you're at when you start before change is here, and you go down and you come up, and commitment is higher. That's bouncing forward because your commitment, when you actually start producing results at a higher level than where you were when you started, that's the whole point of change. Resilience gets you back to where you started. And that's not what any organization is going through. And that's not the point of change. And as a leader, you can use these tools like the change curve. You can use tools like the change compass. You can use tools like what I've called of act and real, of getting expectations into clear agreements and how to lead when things go wrong. Use those tools to help your team be okay when things go wrong and build integrity and trust in those moments of oops, in those moments of didn't quite get the results I expected, or I thought I'd have it by now and I don't, rather than push it under the rug, will anybody notice? Or rather than, oh my gosh, I will just go work 24/7 to go make this happen, to get something out because I said it'd be done by this time frame. That's not the end result that you want. You use these tools to help a team be transparent about what's working, what's not, and together work through when things go wrong, because things go wrong. That is our life. That I've spent 25 years of my 30 years driving transformations going after this concept of say do ratio. There's a big thing in leadership. Do what you say, what you're going to do, and go and do it. And what is your say do ratio? The higher say do ratio, the better leader you are. It's baloney because there is not a person on this planet that ever says something intentionally knowing that's not what they're going to be doing. Everybody's got good intention. But there's not a person on this planet that has 100% say do because they couldn't predict the traffic jam that happened at the end of their block. They've got to be able to recalculate. And when you recalculate with a constant understanding of that end state and a team around you that understands that end state, you can actually come together and find ways to get to a solution faster or get to an even better solution if you can recalculate together. But instead, we've a society of say do, say do. I said I'd do it, and you didn't do it, so then it's punishment. And that's where integrity is. No, the reality is integrity is created at the times of things going wrong. And that's what we need to be able to lead and support our teams to create in those moments rather than go inward and lose themselves and create internal chaos, let alone team chaos, to deliver those results.
Love the say-do and the way you analyzed it. So for somebody listening, what is beyond resilience framework?
It is a concept of becoming that GPS leader of constantly recalculating, and it is a set of tools and skills that you can embed in an organization. Because I believe the tool itself is not the magic. What the magic is the language that it starts to create between you and your team, so you have something to talk about. Because too often when that language is missing, people interpret and fill in the blanks. And so you need to give a language to teams about what does it mean to have clear agreements? What does it mean to handle change? What does it mean to recognize and know in your gut that I said I would get this done by Friday, but something's not right, and having the courage to talk about it and to talk about it the moment that you recognize early notification that something is off, instead of hiding it and trying to go and recover everything. You've got to change the way that the teams interact together, and the beyond resilience frameworks and tools that I've got are about embedding that in your organization to be able to make that the way you operate.
That's a really good one. One of the things you talk about is clarity as a stabilizing force, especially in times of uncertainty. Why is clarity so critical, and why is it often missed by some leaders?
Because it's so rarely given. I mean, if there are so few things that there's a lot of buzzwords, there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of rah rah around messages, but clarity is not just in the head. It is a combination between the heart and the head. Those two need to be in sync. And so there's words, buzzwords aren't going to get to it. You've got to get to the words that the heart can feel and understand. So then you all have to share that understanding. And it's so rarely created in moments. I think in the 30 years of all the transformations I've driven of running out the new projects, the first exercise I always do is an understanding of current state. And it shocks me how many times I've been in a business with teams that have been working together to deliver a product for the client for 10, 15 years together, even working in the same building, but they have never sat in the same room. They have never sat face to face to talk about the process. They have never realized that they shared the same pains. They assumed that it was just them. They've never had a common understanding of current state. And that exercise grounds everybody into clarity of where we are today. Then, when you are on the same footing of an understanding, then you all can agree on what the right next step forward is, because you're on the same place. Prior to that, everybody is in their own interpretation at different points, different understandings, and the place that you want to move from here versus where you want to move from here are different. So you feel like you're in conflict. When you come together and you define your starting point together, then you've got clarity, and then it gives you clarity for how to move forward. And too often people assume everybody is on the same page, and you don't take the moment, and it's really not a long exercise, but you don't take the moment to really get solid footing of where you're at right now together.
Yeah, taking the moment of where you are right now. That's a message, and I hope somebody's really listening to that. And I mean, you said a couple of things. When you look at the world today, constant disruptions, evolving industries, increasing complexity, what kind of leadership do we need more of in these moments?
We need leaders that aren't focused on making a plan, because your plan is your paper map route of how to get from point A to point B. That's outdated. That doesn't work in today's world anymore, because your paper route plan may or may not exist as you start driving along that road. We've been trained in organizations to create that plan, to create that strategy, and leaders, including myself, have been doing it for years. You now need leaders that know the destination, and if you will, borrow a term from the industry, represent true agile leadership. But it's agile leadership because it's the new way of being. It's no longer a process. It's not a structure. It's that your whole environment is going to be changing constantly. So you now need to figure out how to be agile in each of your steps, still be clear on the destination, and carry yourself and those around you with you, even when you don't have authority and accountability, like your GPS isn't going to turn the wheel of your car. You've got to be that leader that's going to give the confidence that you know where you're going, and have others faithfully follow you, because you're bringing out the best in them and the best of the surrounding information to know what path you need to go forward with. So you need GPS leaders, if you will, constantly recalculating, but not ones that build plans anymore.
We need more agile leadership. Yeah, constantly calculating. I
Yeah.
love it put there. So I want to invite you to share a message with a leader listening right now who one feels overwhelmed with chaos, maybe happening in their life, happening in their organization, looking for a better way to be able to manage this.
My message to them is, first and foremost, take some time for yourself and get yourself centered. So all of these tools and the frameworks that I have in the Beyond Resilience framework, which you can find a couple of them on my website and more information on it, take yourself through it. That change compass is the first tool I put on the website for a reason. It is so freaking simple, but it is the most powerful tool. Asking these questions of what is changing, what's causing this chaos, what is really going on, what is not, what do I know, what do I not know? You will facilitate yourself through that exercise to a point that you at least know where you are. Then combine it with the change curve. Know where you are in the curve, recognize it, state it, understand where it is versus the other stages. And then you can figure out how to lead others through the change and how to lead yourself through. Don't kid yourself that you're fully committed up here, when in reality, you're also still freaking out. Item of note, moving through that curve is not a linear, is not a one time. One moment you may be up here and you may be moving back. It's a constant movement thing. It is not a one and done. Like, I'm now, okay, I'm out of the shock phase. I'm now in the denial phase. It is not that linear. It is a curve, and it is a moving curve for a reason, because at different points you're going to be moving along. Recognize it, and it's okay. When you make it okay for yourself, you make it okay for your team, and that gives you grounding to stand on. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to your team and you're going to be shocked and all, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God, this is denial. You need to know how to lead effectively in that moment. And my website gives some tricks on how to do that. But and reach out. If you find that you just aren't able to get out of it, I'll have a conversation with you and see how I can help you at least understand footing for this moment to get you to the next. That don't kid yourself. Know where you are so you can then lead others.
You make it okay for yourself, you can make it okay for others. I
Right.
enjoy that piece in all this explanation, and it really puts a couple of things together to be able to answer that and really support somebody listening right now. And as you said, reach out if you need that support. So we have a tradition at the Voice of Impact. We have a
Yes.
web die with a couple of themes on it, and I will read it because you might not be able to see all of the themes here. So it's make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience. So I read again, make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and patience. So I invite you to choose two out of the six, one that speaks to your journey and one for somebody else listening.
Um, I'll start with the peace one. That one's what's really hitting for me from a journey point of view, right? I think that um, or patient was it patience or was it peace? Now I'm forgetting which one I wanted to do on it. Patience, because they go together. Because give patience to yourself. Be patient. It's okay that to have everything figured out in the moment and to have all the answers. Give yourself the moment to be in that chaotic freak out moment of where things are. Like, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I going on the right path? Or I've questioned that so many times in my journey, right? Am I when I don't didn't get the raise that I thought, or I didn't get the job that I thought, or during that, be patient with yourself. It's okay. There's things to learn. So I think my journey, patience is probably the right tone on that one. I think that was one of them, right?
Yeah.
um, because I think then the other one is going to be making a difference. Um, because that patience gift that you give yourself enables you it's making a difference for yourself, and it enables you to be able to make a difference for others. If you're not able to give that gift to yourself, I don't know how you can make a difference for others.
Two very powerful themes there that you've shared, and I hope somebody's listening and really takes a lesson out of that. So, Noel, let's say there's somebody listening that wants to connect with you, wants to learn more about your resources, wants to learn more about your framework. What are the best ways that they could reach you?
One of the best ways is through LinkedIn. Connect with me, send a message. Also, through my website, you can go self study and read some of the tools and some of the information that's out there, and also connect with me directly. My website is noelandrewssotta.com. So NoeLandrewsSotta.com. So my name. That's also how you find me on LinkedIn, is the exact same name. And you can email me directly at noel@noelandrewssotta.com. And I'd be more than happy to have a complimentary chat with you to find out what's going on, see what service I can provide you, and then we can go through the other tools and offerings that I got that may be of service. But at minimum, I can share my tools and help you get one step further in a conversation.
Noel, thank you for reminding us that leadership is not just tested when things are stable, it's revealed when things are uncertain. Today's conversation challenges us to rethink how we approach change. And you gave tools, you gave tips, you gave techniques, you gave examples as to how leaders could manage some of that and how they could challenge themselves. Because disruption doesn't have to break us. With the right mindset and leadership, it can actually build us to be stronger leaders. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Noel. The time you spend with us is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, to the person listening right now, you may not control the change happening around you, but you do have the power to lead yourself and others through it with clarity. When leaders bring clarity to chaos, they don't just navigate change, they transform what's possible. We are Ndoping and Co performance system designers and strategy coaches. We help leaders and organizations create what we call clarity, alignment, sustainable impact all in one package. And we fully aligned with what Noel is doing and what she's done for 30 years. So if at all you just want to reach out to her, maybe you miss her contact, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to link you up with Noel. And as she said, even if it's for service or see how she could support your business, it'll be amazing. Please reach out. This has been the Voice of Impact. Until next time, keep listening, keep adapting, and keep using your voice.
It's very simple. Empower as many people as possible. Empower as many leaders as possible. Touch as many, professionals as I can. Be able to make a difference.